brother understood that, how he grew up. I mean, he's like saying everywhere I went, he stalked me for a while. I mean, he had guns out, waiting for me to walk past certain places. He see me in restaurants. He see me my lady and my daughter, at certain places. He mentioned that we were there, and for sure I was there. So I know he was there. So it's just this point, like now, like we say, we both win in this situation. Because if you listen to me, and then somebody probably eventually would have killed you, or you went to jail for the rest of your life, and somebody in jail probably did something to you. And he's like, everywhere he went, people love me. He's like, that's when he starts seeing it. Everywhere he went, that somebody loved. Like, people love you, helping kids. You teaching children how to make the right choices and stuff like that. Don't fall into mistakes. He says, so I was seeing your work. Is that I just didn't care. I mean, because I knew that you killed my brother. That's all I wanted to do.
From cave drawings to family histories to stories around the fire, humans crave order among chaos, connection amid isolation. So we tell stories. Our mission at the Storytellers Network is to bring the art of story to the masses. Whether you're in marketing, you're an entrepreneur, or you're developing your own personal brand, telling your story effectively can make the difference between celebrating milestones and collecting unemployment. The Storytellers Network strives to help storytellers tell their stories so you can learn from the best. Now, your host, the inbound evangelist himself, Dan Moyle.
And welcome to the Storytellers Network podcast, Season 5, Episode 1. I'm so excited. I am your host, Dan Moyle, and I believe in the power of story. From personal connections to business, storytelling is what separates us from all other life on earth. It connects us. And we're about to dive into yet another great story with a fantastic storyteller. Now, before we do, a quick reminder that our website has great resources available, past episodes, and contact information for me. Visit thestorytellersnetwork.com for all that. And if you're new, simply testing the waters, just go ahead and text Storytellers to 31996 to subscribe. Now, today's guest is a mentor, an activist, a poet, an author, an inspirational speaker who has appeared on the TEDx stage, and a man who happens to be convicted of murder. Will Latif Little grew up in a single-family parent home with his 4 sisters in Philadelphia. Without his father or any kind of father figure out there at all, Will began to venture out, picking up bad habits and negative ideas on the street. Becoming a product of his own environment, according to his own story, Will dropped out of high school in the 10th grade, got involved in the Philadelphia drug trade and other illegal activities, which ultimately landed Will in prison for 10 to 20 years on a murder conviction at the age of 19 and a brand new father. Now, while in prison, Will decided to turn his life around by first getting his diploma by way of GED. He became a voracious reader, and what began as a way to pass the time with books actually helped him become a man and an incredible storyteller. So, without further ado, let's get to Will's story. Thanks, Will, for joining me for the Storytellers Network. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I love following your story for a lot of reasons, but one of them is because you're just such a great storyteller. Do you consider yourself a storyteller?
Well, you can say that. I can say that. I mean, most of my poems are stories, that I actually experienced or someone else experienced. And I just articulate it in a poetic style. But, you can say that I'm a storyteller through poetry.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, you told the story from a stage, too. So do you do that in front of crowds now as well, as give your story but also talk about poetry and stuff?
Well, yeah, I tell my story of my transformation, in my life and the things I've came across and how I persevered through some trying times and hard times to just inspire other people that, it's possible to change and grow, and evolve.
Yeah. And do you find people really connect with that story of your struggles?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So I kind of covered it a little bit in the intro, but let's talk a little bit about your story. So you grew up basically on the streets of Philadelphia, right? I mean, you spent a lot of time in the streets and with a lot of, bad influences, right? What kind of, go back to that a little bit for me and tell me a little bit about your story, where all that kind of starts for you, Will.
So it started when my mom moved to Philadelphia. Excuse me. My mother moved to Philadelphia from North Carolina. I was about the age of probably 6 months to a year. And I had my father separated because of domestic issues. And me being the only boy, I was the fourth youngest child. I had 3 sisters older than me. Then we got to Philly. My mom, settled down with a boyfriend and had another child. So I had another sister who were younger than me. And just growing up without my father, just trying to wonder like where I fit in life. Being around a bunch of females a lot, that there's something different about you than them. And a lot of times I just had to observe and just watch the things I've done or did, because when you grow up in the environment, you kind of pick up kind of behaviors and stuff like that, learned behaviors. And I knew I was different from my sisters because they were female and I was male, but there was no male for me to identify with too. And just growing up, just trying to learn myself and just trying to figure things out on my own. Basically became my own problem solver. And just by thinking a lot and just watching and thinking, because I was a real quiet kid. I was an introvert. So I was real quiet. I was reserved, never really talked. My mother really couldn't never find me in a house if I was, by myself. So that's how quiet I was. She always made that to everybody when she tells that story, saying that my son was so quiet you couldn't even hear him in the house. So I was that much quiet. Still had that trait today. I don't talk when necessary, but just growing up and just seeing like my mom going through her demons too as well, because she lost her mother at the age of 11. They was both in a car accident. From my past, and my mother grew up real quick. At the age of 15 years old, she got married to my father. They had 4 children, back to back to back, and just her dealing with that loss, dealing with that pain, and me watching it as a kid growing up, seeing her go through all those changes, using drugs, not really drugs, but alcohol as a substance to cope with pain, like most people do today. And just seeing her going through those particular things just made me worry more about myself, my sisters, you know what I mean, and the fact that where's my father at? Why he never called? Why he never reached out? So I kind of knew I was like on my own at that time. My mom was too busy working odd jobs, trying to take care of 5 children now at the time. And just growing up in the city is totally different than what my mom is used to, because she's a young girl from Virginia and North Carolina. And just being in a big city and in the city, trying to look out for my sisters more so than me, she said, when she was younger. Because she always thought I was okay because I never complained about anything. And she didn't really know my worries and trials. And I didn't think she could relate to my trials and troubles, as a boy. So the things I went to school and got in fights and didn't tell her, walking down the street, if I got into arguments with somebody or got jumped by somebody, I didn't tell her about that. What's the purpose? She can't help me, female. So a lot of times I mustered a lot of issues on my own, and which was good for me in my young age. So mother got into fights with like her boyfriend and stuff like that, and I was there a couple of times. And a kid, I didn't think I could do anything about it. But as I grew older, my mother, she's a roughneck. So she grew up hard, and she didn't take no stuff. She's a female. No guys take advantage of females too. So her job was really trying to protect herself and protect my little sisters from being abused by anybody of that nature. And just me growing up, I figured that one day I got to become a man. One day I got to be fearless. One day I got to protect them. Because I'm the man of the house, even at the age of 9, 10 years old. I seen a house got robbed before. My mom couldn't do nothing with but cry. I got upset. So all these things is taking place and just happens in my family. It's like it put pressure on me to protect them. And I really dislike people who took advantage of people, or bully people. Just by seeing that growing up. And at the age of 13, my mom got into a fight with her boyfriend at the time. And I was just coming back home because I was with my grandmother and mother back and forth. That's why I moved around so much. So my grandmother didn't really want me growing up. Not my real grandmother, because my real grandmother died in a car accident. My mom was in it. But my mother had an older sister who was like almost 15 years older than her.
Wow.
So we looked at her as our grandmother, basically. She took my mom and helped us and everything else. So I would move back and forth with her because she wanted me to be raised around a bunch of females too as well. So I moved back with my mom. My mom got in a fight with her boyfriend at the time. I was probably like 13 years old, a little tall, like probably 5'10". I jumped in the fight, and he's like, "What you want? Pick your man up? Pick your man?" yeah, I'm a man. I mean, I was angry, more angry, expressing myself at the time. And he's like, all right, come on outside if you think you're a man. So I said, all right, I'm going outside. I put my shoes on. My mom said, don't go out there. I don't want him to hurt you. I said, man, I'm going outside. I ain't going to be putting his hands on you anymore. I mean, I can't call my dad. I can't call my uncles. I mean, 1,000 miles away. So I felt as though I had to step up. And when I went outside, he grabbed me by my chest, threw me against the wall, pulled out a gun, 38 Dillinger he always carried, and pointed it at my face, like this close to my face. And I just looked at him and stared at the gun, stared at him, got real angry, got upset. I kind of blanked out. He was talking, saying some stuff like, you know, don't jump into a fight with me and your mom again. But I didn't really hear the rest he said because I blacked out at the time. I was so angry. I became fearless that day, you know. And I used to be afraid of the dark. I used to be afraid of night sometimes. But at that moment, it kind of dehumanized me, you know. I didn't fear nothing at the time. I didn't fear dying. I didn't fear the streets. I didn't fear nothing. So my mom asked me, was I okay? And I said, yeah, I'm okay, you know. But I wasn't, you know. I couldn't tell her that I wasn't because I mean, she would understand, you know, my pain. So mixed with that, and see my mom struggle from job to job and everything else, trying to take care of us. I got caught up, I mean, in high school, middle school, and then high school, and the drug trade, and my friends, they had family members who sold drugs, and I wanted to make ends meet for myself, and not allow my mom to worry about me. So I started, you know, venturing out on the streets and seeing everything and getting exposed to a lot of things. I was everywhere. I mean, my mom didn't really know half the places I was at, half the dangers I was in, because she's so busy working. Played a lot of dangerous games, did a lot of dangerous things that could have risked my life. And when I got into the drug game, it just got that much worse because, I mean, it was in the 80s when crack epidemic really hit hard, and there was a lot of people out there who were just preying on each other, like robberies and stealing and sticking ups and murder and shooting and drug addictions and stuff like that. And I was part of that environment. I was part of that culture, you know. And eventually, I got arrested for drugs. This my mom found out I was selling drugs. You know, I got my stuff out. And then a month later, I was in jail for murder. You know, and then it really hit the fan for me. You know, mom was in denial about me even committing a crime. It was a shootout, so that's why she was much in denial. That it was a group shooting at us and we were shooting back. And she's like, you don't know if you did that or not. You know what I mean? It's plenty of people were shooting. Everybody was shooting. You don't know who put shots. So I know I did it. I mean, so I accepted my responsibility in the act that I did immediately. You know, then feeling remorse at the time because my mom was kind of going. I just justified my reasons for doing what I did. And she had to come to grips with that herself, like her son that she raised, you know, actually took somebody's life. It was kind of hard for her to deal with it. My father was cursing her out, you know, blaming her for my actions, and I was like, don't take responsibility for my actions. I'm taking responsibility for my own actions. I did it myself. It had nothing to do with you. I mean, but eventually, 9 months later, after I was arrested and charged with everything, like murder, attempted murder on a witness, aggravated assault, conspiracy, weapons offense. They were trying to give me a death penalty at first. And then some of the charges got dropped at preliminary hearing. And then I was just faced with murder and aggravated assault with conspiracy because I had 3 co-defendants on a case with me. And my son was born like 9 months later when I was in jail. And at that time, he was born, it kind of woke me up. My epiphany came from that experience because I didn't care about my life, but it was now another child being born in the same situation. I mean, faced with the same dilemma, not having a father in his life, because I didn't know if I was going to be in jail for the rest of my life or I was going to come home, beat the case, or just get some time. So it made me think to myself, thinking about, you know, his life more so than mine. But I understood that before I can do anything for him, I had to do something for me, you know. And the moment came a moment of clarity when I started thinking that, you know, I gotta change my life. I gotta change it. And I know there's no one in here gonna help me. There's no programs in this prison to help me change and transform my life. So I knew I had to do it on my own, and I had to be committed to that change. You know, so he became my why. My son became my why and the fact that I didn't want to be an old man walking around sweeping up floors for the rest of my life. If I was able to get the opportunity to come home again, then I was going to change. And I wasn't going to wait for me to get home. I wasn't going to wait for that to happen for me to start changing. I was going to have to do it right then and there. I knew that. So at that moment, I just started just looking back on my life and reflecting on my life and saying, where did I start at? Where did that attitude come from? Where did that fearlessness come from? And I started reflecting back on the things that took place in my life. And I realized it, I discovered it, and I started the healing process, healing myself. Like, I got to forgive that person who did that to me or hurt my family or my mom. And then I got to forgive myself for the acts that I've done to other people and hurt other people. And then I started the education process. Now I got to learn more about me, who I am, the person, and what are the possibilities of me changing my life and actually coming home one day and being a father to my son, who definitely need my guidance and direction and my experience, So then that's when I turned the state penitentiary into my Penn State.
And now, gosh, I mean, that's a heavy story, and it's one that's, I'm sure, not uncommon. I mean, there are a lot of men in prison because of where they were and this kind of thing. For me, I don't have that struggle. Do you find that telling your story connects people like us who are so different and can bring me to that place to understand why we're so different? Or do you find that story, like, people just kind of nod and then walk away? I mean, how connected do you find people get to you through that story?
Well, every audience I speak to, I don't care if it's young kids in middle school or high school or college, or guys in prison, or community individuals, organizations, programs, businesses, or even rich people, wealthy. I speak in a group of abundance and one life to live is a majority of wealthy people. And I speak there and I tell my story because everyone has a story. And then my story is more so of a story of power, forgiveness, a story of redemption, a story of peace, a story of perseverance, and transformation, extreme transformation, and these are the things that we try to look for in ourselves to find that gift or that strength in ourselves when we're going through different dilemmas in life, because we all face with trials and tribulations, and because we have different experiences doesn't mean that we don't still have the same emotions attached to those experiences, or the same feelings, or the same outcomes, or the same stress, or the same depression, or the same guilt. I mean, so these are emotions that we all feel, based on different circumstances and environments and experiences. But we are all part of the human family, so we all have that same emotion attached to our experience that people relate to, the emotion of it, the experience of what you've been through. So I think that's why a lot of people can really connect to the story, and it resonates with them very well because they can correlate that story to the experience in their own life. And that's how people connect. I mean, if I can talk to you and you can look at my story and reflect on something in your life that it connects with, then that's how you build that connection. Okay, the story of perseverance. I've been through a hardship. I lost all my money and my wealth. I lost my house. I lost my wife, and I want to find a way to get that back. I mean, how can I get through that? So that's the story of like perseverance, testing yourself and your will, and everything else. So I think people connect with it very well on different levels.
Well, and I think for me, the connection, as you were telling that too, was having a child. I mean, when my daughter, my first child was born, yeah, I mean, gosh, my life changed. I mean, it wasn't that drastic as your story, but I can see my life change. And now I have 2 kids and my life is them and my wife. And so, yeah, I mean, we connect on that level. So, yeah, that's pretty incredible. How did you decide to speak and become, I mean, a motivational speaker? What drove that for you?
Finding purpose. When you find your purpose in life, it doesn't matter what. It's gonna push you in the right direction, right? And like I said, I was an introvert as a kid. So even right now, my mother is surprised that I speak in front of thousands of people. Like, who is this person right here? This is my son. So it's just, for me, it's like I seen the calling. I seen the need. And it's like growing up, being in prison, you're around all these young brothers, not sisters, but young brothers and the same with the sisters, experience they have, making bad choices based on emotions, based on the void that's not filled in their life, and they try to fill it with other things, with substance or anger or anything they try to fill it with. The ultimate price is either prison or death. And I seen that need right there. I seen many people who were looked just like me and had the same experiences I had, that need guidance and need direction. And I understood one thing, that just overall, just looking at the whole community, the whole country, period, the way we're going, like the drug addictions, the violence, the suicide attempts, the hopelessness, depression, just looking at all that in a nutshell, for me, was like understanding that people just don't know how to live, right? We're not taught the rules of life. There's rules to everything. And I understood that. I mean, when I was walking in the halls in the prison cells, there are rules. You have to lock up at a certain time, you have to get out at a certain time, you have to clean up at a certain time, you got to eat at a certain time. There's rules to everything. Same thing with nature. There's rules to, how you plant seeds and how they grow and how you nourish them and how the universe works and how the sun and the moon and rotates around the earth and everything else. There's a rule. So same thing with life, even with games and sports. There are rules. You can't bring a football to a basketball court. It's a game.
Yep.
So for me, it's just now going to reach my fullest potential. Like, what am I here for? What is my purpose in life? And these are things I thought about as a kid, 8, 9 years old. What is my purpose in life? Why people live? Why they die? I mean, these are unanswered questions I always had myself as a child. When I sat back in my room sometime, my mother couldn't find me, I would sit back and just think, ponder, reflect. Use the God-given gift that He has given all of us. That's the ability to reason, rationale, think, imagine. So it was a calling. Definitely, I recognized the calling. And when I started teaching to other young men in the prison, I was like, wow, I have a voice. People listen to me. They connect with me. And I think the first time, I was telling a story today, actually, I was doing a training with a group of, a program here called Philadelphia Anti-Drug and Anti-Network Violence. So I do trainings with different companies to teach them about emotional intelligence. So I was doing a training today, and somebody asked me the same question, when you started speaking. And I said that I really found my voice when I was in prison by Pittsburgh, a place called Greensburg Prison. I was about 5 years in already on my time. And there was a group of college students that came in to the prison. There was this view in the prison, walking around, checking it out, and seeing how we lived, basically. And they came for count. It was count time. So they came and stabbed down the hall. They actually sit in there. And I said, yeah, we had finished cleaning up. So I said, they can sit there, no problem. So they were sitting around. They were so curious. It was wanted to ask me questions. Just like, can we ask you a question? I was like, no problem. I said, what's your question? And she said, well, we walked around, like all of us walked around the prison today, and we walked in the yard, and we see I have phones in the yard. I got basketball courts. We walked in the gym. Yeah, the gym is better than the gym in our community. I have cable, HBO, and watch video channels and everything else. I got checkers and chess. I got baseball, basketball games. She said this, how was this? So I was thinking about what she said, and just visualizing everything she was mentioning about the weights and the free weights in the gym, the best of the workout equipment. And I said to her, I said, this is not for us. And it was all like shocked, like, what do you mean it's not for y'all? I said, say for example, if you went on a trip, on a vacation to Bahamas, and you stayed at a hotel, and the service was really great, the room was beautiful, the workout in the beach and the view on the site, everything was nice. People were really good in it to you. You come back to Bahamas, were you going to stay at the hotel, or you were trying to stay somewhere else? So I'd probably go back to the hotel. Exactly. So if you're in a place like this, man, and you have all the things, all the luxuries of life that you need, besides a female, but you have all the luxuries of life you need, you have no responsibilities as far as like work and having a job, you wouldn't mind coming back to this place. So that's why the doors revolve the way they do, right? So it's part of their system. It's not part of our system. It's part of their system. And once people realize that, it's a trap door, basically. Because if you're comfortable in a position, then of course you wouldn't mind coming back to jail. You know, I go back to jail. If it was hard, there was no TV, there was no phones, no way to connect. You got to write letters all the time. All you can do is read books. Then people would probably get educated. They probably reform themselves. And man, they probably come out and be productive citizens. But since it's only a warehouse now, before it used to be called penitentiary, where a place where you feel penitent at. And then you feel sorry for your crimes and you get yourself together and get your act right so you can come out and be an asset. You can be you can probably be a liability, but
contributing member to society kind of thing.
Yeah, contribute to society.
Yeah.
So basically, if me saying it, just being in there, you know, just people coming in and out of jail. I mean, it's the fact that they have no fear of going to jail. The fact that there's a place for them. Some people come in for like 6 weeks through the wintertime, you know. So that's why you see all this stuff here. Basically, it's an attraction because now there's a market for the business now. You know, person's a business. It's not really a place for redeeming yourself or transforming your life. Not for that. So that's when I really found my voice, that I was able to speak to intellectuals like that. Because I'm a high school dropout. I dropped out in 10th grade.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so to me, like, okay, now I can have a conversation with some that, you know, we need to be intelligent. I mean, it's in college. I mean, degrees and bachelor's degrees and PhDs. You know, so after that, I started, you know, just doing more research on myself and studying more and growing in life in general. Just trying to figure out how do you transform lives. I mean, how you continue to transform your own life and evolve and grow. Then this work I wanted to do when I got home. I mean, I wanted to come home to my community where I caused a lot of trouble at, you know, a lot of negativity, put out a lot of negative energy in the universe out there. I want to come back and just try to balance that out, you know. So the first thing I wanted to do was go back to the schools and then maybe go into the prisons in the neighborhood, speak in the community. And I seen there was a need for it. So that's why I just went full-fledged with, all right, I got to get a job when I get out. I don't know how that's going to turn out because I'm a felon, I'm convicted of murder. And I know from some of the excuses that when guys come back that they're not hiring guys with felonies. I mean, so I really had to figure out what I was going to do in order to make money and take care of my son. You know, and that was a challenging time, real hard, challenging, trying time for me at that time. The moment once I was released, you know, I was happy I was released and showing, and I was grateful that I was released. But now it's time to really put your mouth, your money where the mouth is. Your mouth is.
Yeah. And how long ago was that? How long have you been doing this now?
21 years I've been home.
Okay. And so, can you look back now over those 21 years and say, okay, you've made your own way. You don't have to worry about somebody hiring a felon. You can actually do this professionally, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's incredible. What I like about the story, Will, is that I feel like there's hope in the struggle. I mean, you know, it's terrible that you went through it and that people still go through it, but there's hope in it, right? If you know, and that's, man, I love that how you weave that in there. And something I want to ask about too. I saw the video where you went back and reconnected with the man who died, his family, right?
Yep, family. Yep.
Yeah, that man, is that so? How does that become part of your story, telling his story and the story of healing? How did that come about?
Well, that's a real powerful story right there, and the power of forgiveness there. I'll tell you this: what happened. You know, this brother, he was, you know, for years, you know, plotting revenge for his brother to take my life, and just so happy he get locked up, and I was locked up first, and he got locked up, but sent to another jail. I get out, he's already out, but then he wound up getting locked up again, and then he can do some time, I think, for assault or something like that. And then he comes back home again, and he's still on the mission of stalking and stuff like that. But during the time that he was in prison, you know, he was telling people about, you know, getting me when he got home. And like I know a lot of people in jails. I travel through the jails and speak in the jails. The fact that I lived there for 10 years, a lot of people would say, just go talk to Will. He's a real good dude. I've grown men now, so just talk to him and try to work that thing out. And still, it was bothering him so much, and he was on heavy medication and everything else. So with that, he began to think, about it, that forgiveness, but at the same time, he's like, it's a real big thing. You're a street guy. I mean, we're both street guys growing up in the streets. You know that, a brother is somebody you never forget, that you grew up with and close to. And the fact that avenging your brother's death is really, really major. You might have a friend killed and you want to avenge that too, but somebody take your brother's life, this is something you have to do, basically. As you want to do, you have to do it. So, when he came in the barbershop 3 years ago, he walked in, I didn't know who he was at the time. So when he walked in, I thought he was a customer. And when he came and said, I want to talk to you. And I was like, all right, just give me a second. I thought he was like a customer or a father of a kid or something like that I cut. He said, no, I want to talk to you. That's why he got my attention. I turned around, I looked at him. I was like, what's going on? He's like, no, I forgive you. So as soon as he said that, I knew who he was. As soon as he said that, I looked him in his eyes and see if he was sincere. I'm a good reader of people, And I seen him sincere. He was looking at me in my eyes. He came strapped. He came with his gun because they didn't know how I was going to respond. Nobody know how to take me. They never did, because I'm not a good reader. You can't read me. But just by the body of work that I've done in the community, and like he's the first person who came. His aunt was the first person who forgave me for taking her nephew's life. And but he the only one that didn't want to do that because he was the man of the family. He's like the guy. Everybody looked up to him. He's the toughest guy in the family, so they thought that he would definitely be the one to do it. But just for him to even walk in there and say that to me, and I thank them. I thank you. For your courage and your strength. And we can go in the back. We could talk more about this. So we went in the back. We talked more about us growing up, how we grew up, fatherless. Both of us, his brother grew up fatherless. His father was actually a hitman for the black mafia. So that goes along with his genes. That's what we looked up to, even though his father went around. And that's what we try to emulate and be like. That's why he was the person he was on the street. Me, I grew up single parent without a father. I don't want to protect myself and my family. So it just came to a point that all this negative energy and toxic, just came to a point and teenagers clashed. And unfortunately, he lost his life in that battle. But brother understood that, how he grew up. He's like saying everywhere I went, he stalked me for a while. He had guns out, pointing, waiting for me to walk past certain places. He see me in restaurants. He see me, my lady and my daughter, at certain places he mentioned that we were there, and for sure I was there. So I know he was there. So it's just this point, like now, like we say, we both win in this situation. Because if you listen to me, and then somebody probably eventually would have killed you, or you went to jail for the rest of your life, and somebody in jail probably did something to you. And he's like, everywhere he went, people love me. It's like, that's what he starts seeing. Everywhere he went, that somebody loved. Like, people love you, helping kids. You teaching children how to make the right choices and stuff like that. Don't fall into mistakes. He says, so I was seeing your work. Is that I just didn't care. Because I knew that you killed my brother. That's all I wanted to do. But eventually, he prayed and stuff like that. And now, when he came in, we talked, it's like, yo, man, it's like a whole ton of bricks that's off my shoulders. So that power of forgiveness was really strong. And I took it to my media friends, told them about the story of Fox News, and the Fox News did a great story on it, and it went viral, got an Emmy Award for Best Media Documentary. And he felt happy about that. He felt happy that he did something, he did the right thing, even though he still struggled with people on the street saying, hey, this guy, he used to be forgave this guy, this and that. The street talk, peer pressure, but he's a grown man now. He got children of his own, that are grown men, grown sons and daughters. So his thing was more so that I know I did the right thing by forgiving. And even though he still struggles sometimes with being around me, and I understand that, we have our talks. I can't be around you sometimes. I think about my brother. I think about this, and you got to be sympathetic to that. But I understand.
Yeah, of course.
That relationship, but we go out, we talk about our stories, power of forgiveness, power of redemption, power of peace, and we share that message, out there.
And it just goes to show that you can change your story. I mean, he's changing his children's stories and his grandchildren, and I mean, changing a community story. So that whole thing is powerful. That's incredible. How did speaking on a TEDx stage come about for you? I mean, poetry, you have a book that you've written, you speak to middle school, to prisons, and then all of a sudden here you are on a TED stage.
Right.
How did that come about?
Beautiful, man. Man, that was one of my bucket list things I wanted to do. When I first heard about TED Talk about 5 years ago, and I was like, I want to get on there and tell my story, because I know, it impacts the world, because it's the world stage, So I put in applications all over, like probably a few times, probably 10 times, never got a response. And I just stopped doing it. I started focusing more on my work and trying to write that second book. But I met with a friend of mine now. We're close friends, like brothers from another Caucasian guy named Tim Rhodes, who runs an organization called One Life Fully Lived. And One Life Fully Lived, they're from California. Tim is from California. They do conferences out there, and they're trying to help people, with expert speakers and stuff like that, help people deal with finances, their life struggles and stuff like that, and trying to help them find the right roadmap for themselves in their life. Like dream it, plan it, live it. How you dream it, how you plan it, how you live it. And he was doing that out there with big conferences with big speakers in California. So he came to Philly, really Westchester at first, to bring the conference here on the East Coast. And I met another friend, my young lady, who invited me to meet with her father. Her father's a part of a group called Go Abundance, which Tim is also one of the founding fathers of that group, which is a millionaire group. It's like 250 millionaires from all over the country. We get together and they brainstorm on how to, create better lives for themselves, their families, their loved ones, and business. So I was invited to his house meeting, and Tim was there, and the father introduced me to. He saw the Fox 29 News documentary. He loved it. He loved the story. He told his friends about it, and he told Tim, like, this is Will. He got a great story of forgiveness, things he's been through in life. Talked to him. So me and Tim talked, basically, and Tim was like, no, I want you to speak at the conference. So I came and spoke at his conference. Then he flew me out to California. I spoke there at that conference. I met another speaker named Jen Gruber, another lady. She's from Philadelphia too, my hometown. Was a great speaker, businesswoman, entrepreneur. And she spoke, and then she's like, I got something for you guys. I want you to go out there and pitch, because we're trying to pitch Dare to Dream. And Dare to Dream is another project on the side of Go Abundance and One Life Fully Live. But Dare to Dream is more geared towards high school, middle school students, to teach them how to dream, plan, and live their life once they leave high school, what they want to do, finding their niche in life early. She said, well, y'all should pitch that to the public, what's called the Publicity Summit they have every year in New York. So she paid for us to go, basically. It's like, well, you can go and pay for you and Tim to come out there. I can do a pitch, elevator pitch about Dare to Dream and what it's about. And it was real funny how he put it together, the hit from the sticks and the brother from the hood joined together to save the world. So basically, we just told them what we were doing with the conference, and I was telling my story. And through all the different media outlets. And from TED Talk, George, he was there. He was like, look, he said, I need you to do a TED Talk. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I need you to do a TED Talk, right, immediately. So I was like, when? He said, you only got a month. I'm sorry, but we need you. It was November, so he's like, December, we need you in December. I was like, wow. He said, normally we get 6 months to prepare, but he said, can you do this right now? I was like, look, I'm up for the challenge. I always want to do a TED Talk. So whatever I had to do, I'm going to get back to it as soon as I leave from New York to go home. I'm going to jump right on it. He said, great. He said, I really want you on here. I really need you on here. Your story is fantastic and great for a TED Talk. So I was like, okay. So I was excited about it, and I was like, wow, I'm going to do a TED Talk. I told my friends about it. And I normally don't write my speeches down. I just go off the top because I'm used to doing that. More so just assessing my audience, because I speak to all different audiences. So I never come with a tailor-made speech. So they need to hear my speech. So I had to record it, send it in, they critique it, send it back to me, say we need this at this amount of time, and and summarize it and everything else. So I was like, okay, I never been critiqued on this, but I'm gonna get this done because I really need this. And I went to the Wilmington TED Talk in Delaware, and everybody got a chance to rehearse except me. I didn't get a chance to rehearse. I was like, all right, so I speak about self-confidence. I speak about willing yourself to do the things you need to do, and who the person you have to be in order to achieve goals and stuff like that in life. So I had to become that person that night. I'm the TED Talk guy. I'm going to kill this show. My self-talk is positive, like 100% positive. So I told myself, I know how my brain works. I know how my subconscious works. So I had to train my brain, trigger that, and all the things I talked about when I want to talk about directly and get it done and get it done on time and finish it out. So I was the last speaker of the night, and at the end, I finished speaking, taking that jumpsuit off. You can watch it on YouTube. It's Moyle Little on YouTube, TED Talk. Yeah. Put the jumpsuit on. So I got a little creative with it too. I do poetry and motion. So poetry and motion, we do a lot of acts and skits and stuff like that. So I brought that to the stage with me, a little bit of part of me. I did 2 poems in the talk, in the beginning and the end. And as I was doing a poem called Change, we need change. I ain't talking about pennies, nickels, quarters, dimes. I'm talking about changing hearts and changing minds. I started taking off the jumpsuit. And under the jumpsuit, I had a suit on, so people could see the transformation happening right in front of their face, and just telling my life and how I was, how I grew up, and how I changed my life, and then where I'm at now today. We got a standing ovation. And the director or the founder of the TED Talk, he was like, this is the highlight of the night. That's why I wanted you to last, because I knew no one was going to be able to follow you. So that was great. All the speakers he heard, and he said that to me, I was like, wow, it was really, really inspiring to hear that from him.
And I'll include a link to that in our show notes. So if you're listening, you got to go watch it, because I love the transformation from the prison jumpsuit to the 3-piece suit. Yeah, man, it was bravo. Well done. I've been to a couple of TEDx events, and that's got to be one of my favorites for sure. Is yours. Yeah, man, you're welcome. What's your favorite way to tell a story? And I can see the passion when you're talking about TED, and that was a bucket list. But then you also, when you talk about your poetry, man, you light up. But then when you talk about, interacting with kids, you light up. So can you pick a favorite way to tell your story?
Well, I mean, like I said, I always assess my crowd first and see who is there, because I'm reading people as I come in. Mm-hmm. And what is it that I can deliver to them to help them grow or transform in that moment, So I'm a moment maker. So I'm about making moments, and you have to really be a student first before you can be a teacher. I mean, in every room I walk into, I'm always learning and absorbing the energy in the room, the vibration in the room, so then that feeds me. So when it feeds me, then whatever comes out, that's what comes out, Mm-hmm. And I see the people's faces light up. Like right now, I'm doing classes on emotional intelligence and teaching emotional intelligence, teaching the universal laws, and basically breaking down the whole human system, how you can reinvent yourself and how you can transform your life to become the best you, and that's what my TED Talk is called, how to become the best version of yourself. So just doing that and just seeing people just become aware now of life, like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't have no knowledge about that. How you control your emotions, how your emotions work, how everything you do is based on emotion, how you transform your brain, your subconscious, using your conscious state of mind, how you become programmed based on your environment, your culture, and things of that nature. Just a wealth of information that is not known. I mean, how you get over pain, trauma, and hurt, how people live in the past instead of living in the future, how the stress creates sicknesses inside your body, how your thoughts can make you sick, how your thoughts can heal you as well. So all this information that, is definitely needed in our community to heal communities and bring back hope in the community. So I'm trying to push this emotional intelligence, well, really many emotional intelligence, but how the human system works. I want to push my program on how the human system works, how you can create your best life, That's what I'm doing here in Philly. I'm trying to take it abroad too as well.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. Powerful. Do you think that I don't even know? I don't know how to ask this necessarily, but I'm going to try and muddle through it because it's really been on my heart for a long time in these interviews and stuff. How do you think story can change the world for us? Whether it's things like bad neighborhoods, whether it's things like racism, whether it's things like just not connecting with people. I mean, can story really save us, do you think?
Yeah, stories. Yeah, people are more engaged with stories. Because they can see a visual. It's like they visualize in their mind, like a movie. You're watching a movie in your own mind. So when you're telling a story, like people always look for themselves in that story. And that's how you connect. If a person can't find themselves in your story, then they drift off somewhere. I mean, so the thing is making a story relatable. I mean, and life experience is relatable to everybody because we all have life,
Yeah.
And even though I may have not lost a child, if I hear a person talk about losing a child or lost some money or how they became rich and wealthy, I want to hear that story because it's something I want to do. I want to hear that story of redemption. I want to hear that story of how you overcame. I want to hear that story because this has, I might encounter that experience sometimes, and I want to know what to do once I encounter that. So storytelling is really ancient. It's of the old. It's probably one of the best forms of connecting with people.
Yeah.
Like even with poetry is one of the oldest forms of educating and edutainment. Poetry is one of the oldest forms of edutainment. Where you educate and entertain at the same time. That's why poetry will always exist. So even the poetry is stories and poetry. I mean, like my stories and poetry. I mean, and that people can connect to and relate to because they're real life stories. And they can see themselves in your story, then that's how they connect. That's how you add value to their life.
And I think that's where we can really stop dehumanizing groups and humanize humans, humanize each other on a more intimate level and get rid of those things like racism and violence and stuff. So it's nice to hear that, from somebody else who's been out there in the world so much and sees that, because that's kind of how I see it. And it can be very powerful. So it's very interesting.
We are connected. Like we're all connected. Like understand. Like I study the universal laws. Like everyone is connected to the same energy source. So it ain't about color and none of that stuff because you have the same energy. So we have the same emotions, we have the same feeling, we have the same thought process, training your brain. Only thing is different, but that's our experience in life and what we've been taught from our environment, from our culture, or from our family members. Other than that, it's more so that we still have that human connection. We put labels on things. This is what society does. Put labels on things to separate each other and divide. I mean, but realistically, when you understand yourself, you have one with yourself, you know that you're connected to everything around you, every one of them.
Amen to that. I love that. So if somebody told you, Will, that you could no longer tell stories, what do you think your last story would be before you were done telling stories?
Well, my last story would be the story of unity. I unify us as one race, so human race.
I like that. That'd be a powerful one. Very good, man. Listen, I appreciate you taking the time tonight. I know you're a busy guy and you're telling your story everywhere. So thanks for being a part of the Storytellers Network. I'm going to link to some stuff in the show notes, but is there a central place people can find you and connect with you that's easiest?
Well, I have a new page on my Facebook page. You can connect with me there under Will Little, or you can find my page, Transform Your Life with Will Little. That's my fan page.
All right.
Go to that fan page and connect me on there. If you can't connect me on there, just go to Will Little Facebook page and I'll connect you from that page right there.
Perfect, man.
My website too, you can check that out, www.willb.little.com.
All right, man. We'll link to all that in the show notes, brother. Hey, man, I appreciate your time once again, my friend. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Appreciate that.
And once again, thank you so much to my guest, Will Latif Little. What a great storyteller and what an amazing story. Now, you can connect with Will at all the links down in the show notes. And if you enjoyed the episode, please share it with someone, post it to your social media, text somebody, or just stop them on the street and tell them, hey, I got this great show you need to know about. Have you heard of a podcast? You got to check this out. And if you want to share your story with me, go to thestorytellersnetwork.com, hit contact Dan on the contact page, send me an email, and let me know what you love or don't love about the show. Until next time, here's to telling our stories and having stories to tell. Cheers.